Thanks for staying with us. And like we told you, the January 6th committee has unanimously recommended criminal charges against former President Donald Trump for seeking to overturn his election loss and inspiring the storming of the Capitol. The Congressional Committee referred Trump to the Department of Justice to face charges in a final salvo aimed at the former president. It says Trump singularly responsible for the bloody attack on the citadel of American democracy.
The committee believes that more than sufficient evidence exists for a criminal referral of former President Trump for assisting or aiding and comforting those at the Capitol who engaged in a violent attack on the United States. The committee has developed significant evidence that President Trump intended to disrupt the peaceful transition of power under our Constitution.
And for more on this story, our U.S. correspondent Eric Ham joins us now from outside the Capitol in Washington. Eric, thank you so much for being here. It's been almost 2 years, since the January 6th attack and that mayhem unleashed on the Capitol. So here we go. Do you think finally with this, committee's recommendation that maybe we might just see, a first for a former U.S. president going to jail? Help us unpack this report and what it really means for the former president.
Well, for the former president, what this criminal referral alludes to is the fact that based on their more than 17-month investigation, they have the evidence they believe that constitutes the fact that President Donald Trump, then President Donald Trump, committed crimes. 4 crimes, in fact: a crime to obstruct the business of Congress, conspiracy, and aiding and abetting an insurrection, among others. So this is a referral from the Congress to the Department of Justice, because remember, Congress does not have an investigative authority. So they do not have a law enforcement authority, which means they can investigate to look at matters as to how it relates to their work. But what they cannot do is they cannot bring criminal charges, they cannot indict, they cannot prosecute. That is the sole role and discretion of the Justice Department. Now, we know that already the Justice Department is engaged in several investigations into the former President Donald Trump, looking at a number of issues, including, of course, the insurrection. But what this does is this puts pressure on the Justice Department to not only look at the investigation that the Congress actually compiled, but also it puts pressure on them to either bring an indictment or actually not bring an indictment, to make a decision about the incidents that took place. And it's going to be very difficult for the Department of Justice to thread this needle, because we know that already they have received several high-profile convictions, not just of those rank-and-file individuals who participated in the insurrection, but those who also were part of the planning as well. We have seen damning testimony from more than 1,000 witnesses over the course of this investigation who have been involved and who worked closely and directly with former President Donald Trump. But it didn't stop with just those 4 criminal referrals by this committee to the Justice Department. We also know that the committee is recommending sanctions against 4 high-profile members of Congress, including potentially the incoming Speaker of the House.
Eric Ham, is this an indirect way of dealing a death blow on Trump's re-election bid? And of course, a lot is hanging on the DOJ. In what direction do you think the Department of Justice is really going to go on this Trump matter?
Well, look, we don't know right now if the Department of Justice is actually going to bring an indictment, charges against the former president. What we do know from our sources inside Mar-a-Lago, where Donald Trump, we're told, is said to be seething over these criminal referrals, is that the former president is deeply upset, but he is also using this opportunity to run for president as a shield against potential and possible future prosecutions, both from the federal government as well as from state entities as well. We know that Donald Trump right now is staring down a bevy of both criminal and civil litigation issues that certainly make him ripe and vulnerable for potential prosecution. But again, we have to go back and focus on how unprecedented this is, particularly when we look at the United States certainly being the most influential, though not the largest, but certainly the most influential democracy in the world. The United States has attempted to try to export democracy across the world. And now here we are, the former president of the United States, twice impeached, mind you, is now looking at, for the first time in history, criminal referrals, multiple criminal referrals by the legislative arm of Congress, which again is the first branch of government. This is what the United States is right now in uncharted territory, because this has never happened. We have seen presidents resign. We have seen presidents assassinated. We have never seen criminal referrals brought against former presidents for their role in attempting to overthrow the very government they took an oath to serve. And so right now, it's unclear where this is headed, where the Department of Justice will go. But clearly, Donald Trump still has his supporters, and we know that he will certainly rile them up, which is why I think the Justice Department is looking at this very closely.
Well, now the ball is in the courts of the Justice Department. I guess we just have to wait to see how that plays out. But I want to stay with Donald Trump, really. You have just touched on the fact that he has his supporters, and of course, we expect some sort of speech from him much later. But let's not forget that the midterm elections, the anticipated red wave didn't happen the way it was expected. And some say maybe Donald Trump might be losing the powers that he thought he had with regards to the Republican Party. So talk to us about this that just happened today and its implications really on the political life of the man, Donald Trump.
No, those are very good questions, very astute observation. And you're right. The Republican Party did not have the success in the midterms that many thought they would. And what we're seeing inside the Republican Party right now is many believe the reason they did not have the level of success that was expected is because of Donald Trump. And now what you're seeing is the party is now beginning to move away from Donald Trump. We're now seeing that and expecting that a number of people are going to are signifying and are expected to announce that they will be running for the Republican nomination of the presidency, something that was unheard of back in 2021 when Donald Trump recently left office. And so what we're seeing is the influence and the hold and the control that Donald Trump has had over the Republican Party since becoming its nominee in 2016 is not only beginning to wane, but it's beginning to move quickly where Donald Trump is not seen as the force he once was in the party. And also, many people are believing that there are others who can take on that mantle who simply don't have the baggage, don't carry the risk, and don't have the legal jeopardy surrounding them that we see with Donald Trump. And in fact, there are those who believe that there could be indictments. We don't know, in fact, if that will happen, but that is what many believe is possible to happen right now. And Donald Trump is using his opportunity, his attempt to recapture the White House as a chance to stave off any potential indictment by both state and federal prosecutors.
Eric Ham, is going to be a very tough one for the United States, trying not to demystify the seat of the President of the United States and making sure that justice is done. Thank you very much, Eric Ham.